And welcome to another edition of Anthony and Ari Unfiltered, a weekly radio show with former Congressman Anthony Esposito and Inspector General, Department of Labor, in conversation with Assemblyman Ari Brown on the hot button issues of the day. Here now are your hosts. Take it away, gentlemen.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're very thankful that you're joining us on WNEW 102.7 and WSNR 620 AM. I am Congressman Anthony Esposito, alongside my good friend and patriot, Assemblyman Ari Brown, and we're here to talk to you over the next half hour or so about everything that's important throughout the world.
Good evening, Zeb, and good evening, Congressman. So let's get down to it. The New York City mayoral race. We have Adams, we have Cuomo, and we have Sliwa, of course, great Curtis Sliwa, and that other guy, Mamdani or whatever is this. Okay, it seems like insiders are trying to clear the field to stop Zohran Mamdani. They're trying to get Curtis to drop out. They're trying to get Adams to drop out. And that other guy already did drop out. I forgot his name.
Landon,
No, Landon. There was someone else. What's going on here?
I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see how it plays out. I mean, listen, I think that you and I both know Curtis pretty well. We've talked to him. I don't think there's a chance in hell that Curtis Sliwa is bailing out of this race. So I think that he stays in it. And quite frankly, I think as conservative Republicans, many people, not just in the 5 boroughs, but I think there was an interesting story that was written over the last few days, and it highlighted the amount of money and donations that are coming to these candidates outside of the 5 boroughs. And I think that speaks to really how important this race is, not just here locally, but really across the country. Listen, people are watching this race because they want to know, is Zohran Mamdani the poster child? Is he the future of the Democratic Party? He is the future. He's the one that, and people like him are the ones that are calling the shots. But it is, I think it's interesting that people across Long Island are putting money into these races. Why? Because our everyday, our quality of life, us going into work or our kids going into school, or think about the amount of cops and firemen that live on Long Island who are going to be affected by what could be the disastrous policies of Zohran Mamdani. They're all getting involved. And the idea, and this is just my personal thought, the idea that Andrew Cuomo is the best option is insane. I mean, it is laughable, because what everyone is forgetting is that he is the one that orchestrated the mess that we are in. You talk about cashless bail, criminal justice reform, clean slate. I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, you served in Albany in the Assembly. You see his party and the mess that he's put us into. That's what we think our best option is.
Actually, you brought up a very interesting point. You said, is he the Mamdani, the face of the Democrat Party? Today's Newsday, there was an article quoting Congressman Tom Suozzi and Laura Gillen. And what did they say? It's laughable. Mamdani should find his own party, but stay away from the Democrat Party. Tom, I got news for you. That is the Democrat Party. Right. You're an island unto yourself.
Right. And not only that, it's laughable coming from Laura Gillen, who ran under the Working Families Party, who has flat out called for the defunding of the police. So it's very interesting to watch them, as the Zohran Mamdanis, as the AOCs, as the Rashida Tlaibs, as the Ilhan Omars, as these radical mayoral candidates in different blue cities throughout the country continue to take over their party. And now they want to say, well, you guys shouldn't be part of our party. I hate to tell them, they're part of their party.
Their party has left them. I was with our wonderful past Assemblyman Harvey Wiesenberg. He said, whispered, Ari, guess who's a Republican now? Yeah. I said, I know. He said, my party has left me. And that's exactly what it is. We're talking about Curtis Sliwa. Could he possibly win? I'll remind our listeners, in the early 90s, when we had Mayor Dinkins and all the chaos going on in Manhattan, 42nd Street was full of prostitutes, the X-rated parlors and things like that. Yankel Rosenbaum was killed in the street. People said it'll never change. And all of a sudden, Mayor Giuliani, and I got to say, that Medal of Freedom honor is the most wonderful thing. It really touched me over here in the heart. Mayor Giuliani came in and he changed the whole dynamic. My daughter's office is on 42nd Street. If I would have said in the early 90s, my daughter's office was on 42nd Street, say, oh boy, what kind of business is she in? But it can happen, and Curtis can pull it off. And as you said, it's important for the Republicans and conservatives to see him to stay in the race.
Absolutely. And listen, and one of the reasons, or, you know, the reason that Mayor Giuliani and Bloomberg were so successful is they focused on the quality of life issues that were plaguing the city of New York, and that led for the city to flourish. And they took the handcuffs off the police officers. They allowed their police commissioners and the leadership in the NYPD to actually run the NYPD. And what happened? People went out there, men and women who took the oath to go out there, and whether it was dealing with quality of life issues, you know, they utilized what and something that Commissioner Kelly was always super supportive of, and orchestrated, was the broken windows theory, where you start off with these smaller crimes, and if you solve them, it will lead to the diminishment of crime throughout the city, and it works. And that's what we need to go back to. You know, people go into New York City, they visit New York City. I mean, there's a congressional, the NRCC hosts a trip every year in December called Bright Lights, where all the big donors from throughout the country, the members of Congress come in, the speaker, and it's usually right before the Christmas time. And it's nice, you know, you go to Radio City, you see the Christmas tree, and people come here now and they're like, what are we doing here? Because why? Because the quality of life, and let's be honest, the NYPD does the best with the resources that they have. Those men and women want to go out there, they want to make the street safer. But what happens is they put people, and this issue is almost even beyond the control of the mayor, where you have these rogue DAs who are taking criminals and allowing back out on the street. And that's really what the issue is.
One last thought on this issue. We have a lot of Jewish listeners. You know, it took the killing of Yankel Rosenbaum to get the Jews to vote the right way for Giuliani in the early 90s. My fellow Jewish Americans, it's time. It's time to start voting the right way. To see 30% vote for Mamdani is shameful. Stop voting for the people that are looking to kill you. Let's switch gears for a moment. ICE is doing a wonderful job. I don't have to tell a guy like you, a hero police officer, fire chief, you understand what our first responders do for us. But I saw the other day this tow truck driver towed an ICE vehicle. I'm glad to see immediately they arrested him, and they say it may even get up to 10 years in a federal prison. Any thoughts on that, Congressman?
I just, unfortunately, I think that it is the feelings of so many, and quite frankly, it's the fire that continues to be fueled by many of the Democrat elected officials. They believe, I mean, you got elected officials traveling into other countries to sit down and sip margaritas with illegal criminal migrants. You have members of Congress in New Jersey literally storming an ICE facility and assaulting ICE agents. I mean, if the so-called leaders of this country are doing that, what do you expect from everyday Americans who don't agree with the Trump administration's policies? And the idea that we should be towing law enforcement vehicles, I mean, it goes to the same thing where people, I mean, look what has happened over the last couple of years, where there's NYPD officers in full uniform, broad daylight, Midtown Manhattan, being assaulted. I mean, it just goes on to the fact that Democrats and people on the left have done their best to criminalize law enforcement professionals, and criminalize and demonize, which is really the problem, because it is the conversation that's being had. It's the hate that's being spewed. It's the rhetoric that's being perpetuated through social media and elsewhere. That's why people like this tow truck driver think they can get away with towing an ICE vehicle.
And who is at the helm of a lot of this? Zohran Mamdani. You look at all of his past speeches and writings, it all had to do with defunding the police.
That, and we've talked about this, but I think it's something that we can't push aside. Also, the Democrats who are silent, they are just as complicit.
The Democrats aren't so silent. We see the wonderful job President Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. I just was telling you that my assembly colleagues and I and the leader will be going down to Washington in November. If you would have told me this 2 weeks ago, I said, I don't know, it's, I'm not afraid of anything, but you want to enjoy the experience. From what I'm hearing from everybody, from your colleagues in Congress, he's cleaned it up. So what do we see the Democrats doing now? You take Pritzker in Illinois. He doesn't want the president to send the National Guard down. Why? You see, there's a little bit of a difference. The Mayor Bowser in Washington, D.C., while she pushed back initially, sees the results and maybe got a half a brain or a quarter of a brain.
She's also boxed into a corner.
Right. Okay. But she sees the results. She figures she can get on the bandwagon, even if it's late. But Pritzker, this guy doesn't want. 8 people were killed this past weekend. 50 people were maimed in Chicago. It is a crisis. And there's now a debate whether it's considered an emergency if the president can use his executive powers. Shameful.
What it comes down to is, and we talk about this often, is that the left continues to double down on stupidity. And the idea, I mean, whether it is Pritzker, whether it is Newsom, they think that they are going to catapult themselves into national notoriety by just bashing Trump and bashing his policies. When you go into cities and communities throughout this country, use Washington, D.C., or bring it home locally. I worked my entire career in Brownsville, Brooklyn, probably one of the most dangerous square miles in the United States of America. There are good people that live there that want safe communities. And when you deny them the ability to be safe just because you don't like who the commander-in-chief is, well, that's when they turn their back on you. And far too often, I think we see it around here, Democrats think that they are entitled to the communities, the minority communities. They think that they should just, vote for them en bloc, which thankfully is no longer happening, because whether we agree with everything fundamentally, there is no question that the Republican Party, conservatives, have been the party of common sense. They've been the party of the people, and they've been party of wanting to keep communities safe. I mean, that's what this is about.
I agree. The little housekeeping. You're listening to Anthony and Ari Unfiltered on WNEW 102.7 FM and WSNR 620 AM.
2 guys with the face for radio, right?
No, you're the handsome guy. Thank God they don't see me. But anyway, getting back to what you were saying, you have mayors in Los Angeles, you have in San Francisco, all of the Democrat-run mayors fighting President Trump, and you look at their cities, not only falling apart, there's chaos and mayhem. I always remember the stories. My parents used to go to San Francisco every couple of years. How beautiful was the architecture. We were in the construction architecture business. My father used to describe, he said now it's a complete hellhole over there. The feces on the street, the homelessness, not to care about their own people. This Nancy Pelosi, what a shameful caricature of a human being she is.
And I wish that there was something that we could say that would be the understanding of why they want this. But the only thing that could be is that they don't care and they want to continue to fight with President Trump. And honestly, I don't think they want their communities to be cleaned up.
Let's dig deep a little bit more about that. It's about enabling their constituency. Let's look at our black brothers and sisters. They obviously can realize that slavery was formed and initiated by the Democrat Party. The Republicans are the ones that freed them. The segregationists were only the Democrats. It was only the Republicans who fought for them in every which way, shape, and form. You ask yourself, why? Why would they vote with the people of the Ku Klux Klan? Why would they do that? Because of these free offerings. And we're going to tie it back into the immigration issue. Remember when Obama came in, the free phones, the free, everything for free. And this is what they try to push on the Black and Latino community. You get a free ride. You don't have to work. Just vote for us. But I believe, because we saw that what happened with the President Trump's election, the past election, they're coming around in a big way. And this is what's happening now on the border in a very big way. There's a lot of self-deportation. If they were escaping tyranny, why would they turn around? And the answer is because the freebies are being cut back. There's no more coming and staying in 5-star hotels.
Right.
Any thoughts on that?
No, it's absolutely right. I mean, I think that President Trump's strategy in the self-deportation was brilliant. People criticized it but at the end of the day, I think people realized that he made a commitment to, free this country of the probably close to 14 million illegal criminal migrants that came into this community. Could be even more. And many of them, on our known terror watch list, who want to cause harm to the American people and to our way of life. And I think that they realized that self-deportation is their best option. Why? Because there's no longer social programs for unless if you're an able-bodied adult, you got to get out there and work.
Except for in these liberal cities and states.
Right.
We still have a budget, unfortunately, in New York for these illegal aliens. And I say illegal aliens, whenever I say that on the floor of the assembly, they're always up in arms in September, but that's exactly what they are. And I'm glad to see President Trump has put his foot down and really making progress.
And he has made progress. And I think what is important is you see the amount of encounters at the southern border. I mean, they've reached an all-time low. And one of the things that is not talked about, but I think it needs to be, is that now with the encounters so low at the southern border, what's the opportunity? The opportunity is for those individuals who are Customs and Border Patrol agents who handle the work down at the southern border. Now they could focus on people who want to come to this country legally,
like my mother did when she came from Italy,
and want to come through the front door.
By the way, so my mother comes in today, right here in Island Park. We have the San Gennaro Festival.
Kicks off tonight.
I can't wait to be here.
5 o'clock mass, 5:45, 6 o'clock. We'll have our procession through the streets of Island Park. This is we've been doing this for over a half a century. It is an Island Park tradition, and it's great to see everyone come together and support our great church. And Father John, who has been our pastor here for almost 25 years, has, I think, brought this feast to its biggest and best.
I look forward to being here, my Italian brother. I was mentioning a minute ago that they didn't like when I used the words illegal aliens in the assembly to restrict our freedom of speech. When I used the word convict, they went absolutely berserk.
What would they like you to call them?
They incarcerated individuals.
Yeah. Okay. How about perps?
Yeah, because many of my colleagues were incarcerated individuals. They don't like the word convict. But the reason why I'm mentioning that, I saw something chilling. I wasn't surprised, but what happened in England, we saw a comedian arrested because his comedy show, swirled around the transgender community. And they arrested him because of his speech. And we see and read this every single day in Europe, specifically now in England. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess it falls into the whole DEI argument, right? And the fact is that, I mean, if you could be arrested for a joke, I mean, what has this world really come to?
It's become a joke.
It's a scary. It is very scary, and at the same time, it's the people who are applauding the arrest are the same people who say they should have freedom of speech, right?
Absolutely. I graduated high school in 1984, so obviously we read the book 1984, George Orwell, and we said to ourselves 41 years ago, how could this ever happen? Cameras looking at you, everything you're doing, restricting your manner of speech and thought, and here we are today.
You could go to the mall, buy a pair of sunglasses that literally has AI capabilities. I mean, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's somewhat of current events. I mean, and it ties into another thing that I think is near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's mental health resources for first responders, law enforcement. But I was recently having this conversation. What was it? A couple of months ago, you had that whole scene unfold at the concert where the couple got caught on the kiss cam, right? Yeah. But think about that, because of the technology, because of these cameras that you're talking about, because of the ability for people to literally sit home behind their keyboards and figure out who people are. With AI technology, those two people were identified in literally minutes, right? And both of their worlds were destroyed. And I think one of the things that this has created, this sort of Orwell type thing, is that the America, unfortunately, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media, but we far too often celebrate the destruction of people's livelihoods. Yeah. And it's one of the things. I mean, you saw that Coldplay concert, and these two families just destroyed in real time in front of the American people, really in front of the world. And then you fast forward that into, at the same time, we were dealing with some stuff locally with, unfortunately, some law enforcement professionals who took their lives. And And what it comes down to is this world that we live in is far too quick to just, verbally assassinate people. And I think that it's really led to some mental health issues in this
Listen,
world.
rare is the person that's happy for their friend when they succeed. In Yiddish, they say some other people can't fargin someone something nice. It pains them to see someone have something nice. You're talking about some, the law enforcement and all of our heroes. I want to touch on a very nice subject that you're too modest to bring up. We're here in Island Park taping. I know you were so instrumental in the Tunnel to Towers facility that's going to be going up. You and our county executive, Bruce Blakeman. This is so heartfelt. I donate every month to Tunnel to Towers. Please, Andy, put the modesty aside. Tell our audience exactly what you were.
Yeah, so Island Park, we obviously was one of the worst hit communities in Hurricane Sandy, and we have on our east end of town, in the town of Hempstead, is a Long Beach Motor Inn. It's been there for at least long as I've been alive. And after Superstorm Sandy has been just not utilized. It's overgrown. People have lived in there. We had drug issues. We had crimes being committed. And honestly, over the last, now what is it, almost 15 years, there's been so many different ideas: senior housing, development, this and that. And I have to say, I had a meeting in my office with representatives from Tunnels to Towers. The county had taken the property over by eminent domain because it wasn't being maintained. And I worked with County Executive Blakeman and Legislator Mullaney and you and others. The town of Hempstead, John Ferretti has recently became supervisor. He's been extremely helpful. But we're going to turn this rundown, disastrous eyesore into a veterans village, collaborating with Tunnels for Towers. Hopefully it will be the home to almost 50 brave veterans. And this is a place where they could, on site, there's going to be doctors, there's going to be recreational resources, mental health resources. And I think as well as I do, I mean, you drive the streets of Island Park, and every pole has a banner of a veteran. Right outside my office is the banner of my dad, a Vietnam veteran, my grandfather, a World War II veteran. And this community embraces veterans. We always do. We always will. And for as long as I have a say in it, we always will. And I think that this Tunnels for Towers home, this Tunnels for Towers village, again, with the work of County Executive Blakeman and I, we have really created a community that will be embraced by the community that's already here. And it's just, it's going to be an awesome experience.
Congressman, thank you for being you. Thank you for being a proud patriot, doing the right thing. Your testimony for the town of Hempstead in support of this was remarkable and heartfelt, and the community appreciates it and recognizes what you and our county executive, Bruce Blakeman, have done. You've been listening to Anthony and Ari Unfiltered on WNEW 102.7 FM and WSNR 620 AM. Congressman, thank you for another great show.
All right, absolutely. And we're working on, just for everyone listening, we're working on getting into our permanent studio, which is going to be an awesome time. And we're going to have guests coming in, and we're going to talk about everything and anything that's going on across this country. For now, enjoy yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. WNEW 102.7 FM, WSNR 620 AM. This is Anthony and Ari Unfiltered.
Another great show. By the way, it's so much different with that background.